What is up YouTube, Crafting Cars here, happy Tuesday. Now for today's video, we're going to be working on the audio system in our daily driver 92 Dodge Stealth. If you guys remember, a couple weeks ago we installed that Blaupunkt head unit into the dash, and I've really been enjoying that old school style, yet having the Bluetooth connectivity that head unit brought to the car. Today we're going to be wrapping up the audio system with new door speakers, dash speakers, rear panel speakers, and an additional powered sub. So let's get right into it. Alright guys, so here's the components we're going to be installing today. Of course, I'll have the part number for everything in the description down below, but just a quick walkthrough. For our dash, we're going to be using these Dayton Audio 3-inch full-range speakers. For the doors, we're going to be using these Kenwood Excelon 6.5-inch speakers. These are two-way. For the rear panels, we're going to be using these Kicker K5s. These are also two-way speakers, and these are 6x9. And then behind the rear seats, we're going to be using this Blaupunkt powered sub. It's an 8-inch sub and amp all concealed into one. So yeah, very excited to install this in the car. All right, so I guess we're just gonna work front to back on this car, starting with the dash speakers. Now I believe that these are going to be the easiest. Now removing the dash speakers on the Stealth requires no special tools. Kind of just pry them out with your fingernail. Let's see. Yeah, so I just kind of reach in like that. Not too hard. And then they're clipped, so you just got to unclip them. It'll be the same for both sides. So now we have our factory speakers, our brand new speakers. I'm going to show you how to combine the two and make this. So first, I'm going to remove the factory speaker grill so we can transfer it onto our new speaker, giving it a stealth appearance. That's a play on words there, that's why that's funny. So how I do this is I take my screwdriver and I pry these original tabs out of the factory glue. And the grill should come right off. And we'll take our new speaker. And these are kind of nice with the Dayton Audio. They got these dust cones on them. And you can use that to perfectly center your new grill. That looks good to me. Flip it on over. And bend those tabs down. Now we'll take some JB Weld 1-minute epoxy, mix it up, and apply it to the tabs just like they did at the factory. Once the glue is set, we can go ahead and hook up our adapter harness. This is Metro part number 72-9301. I really like these because they match up with the speaker very nice, and they have different size terminals so you can't hook it up out of phase. And just like that, they're ready to be installed in our dash. They drop right in just as easy as they popped out, and it should be plug and play thanks to our Metro harness. Just as a quick test to make sure they didn't rattle or anything, I played some music in the car, and oh my gosh, the upper and the mids are so much cleaner than they were before. Now keep in mind, the rest of the system is still stock, and holy crap, it's already made a huge difference. So when we complete this, man, I am so excited. But yeah, it is already literally 10 times better with the aftermarket head unit and the dash speaker. So I'm really excited to move on. All right guys, so moving on to the door speakers. I already went ahead and practiced on the driver's side of the car, and it's pretty straightforward. So the door panel does have to come off to get at the speakers. I know it looks like this grill's just removable, but it ain't. So first thing you're gonna wanna do is roll down the window. Some of the tools I use here: small flathead, regular Phillips head screwdriver, side cutters, another one of those Metro harness adapters. I use a drill and a 1/8 inch drill bit. Of course, you're gonna need your new speaker. And man, I'm glad I'm doing this project because check out the old speaker. It is blown all the way around and it's just deteriorating like paper mache. So yeah, that explains why it sounded so bad. So starting off on the door, we'll go ahead and hit all the easy screws first. So got one right here in the door handle, one right here in this vent. You got one kind of hidden in the carpet, and then two on the side of the door here. We'll go ahead and remove those now. So those are pretty straightforward. Once we got all those, we can move on to these next ones. These are hidden behind little caps, and those caps are connected to the screws. And you got to be careful when you pop these caps off. You can see right there at the tip of my screwdriver, there's a little hinge. So you're gonna wanna pry on the opposite side of that hinge. They pop off just like that, giving you access to your Phillips head. Now the next screws are gonna be hidden under this carpet piece here. Make sure yet again that you got this outside screw taken off. And basically what you wanna do is take this, kind of pull it to the right and push it to the right at the same time. And it kind of just slides off, just like that. And there you have your last 3 screws. Next, we're gonna take off this door handle piece. You're gonna wanna take the lock, slide it to the right, take the door handle, open it up. At the same time, you wanna take this piece of plastic and push it to the right. And you should kind of feel it unclip. And now you should be able to pull it forward. Just be very careful. Last thing you wanna do is break anything. Just like that. Now it's time to take the door panel off. Now it's pretty straightforward. You basically just want to get your fingers underneath it. And what I like to think of it as is kind of like open up a Lamborghini door, where this side you're going to want to kind of lift up first. And feel it separate. And you got to get on top of it, make sure your handle's not getting caught. Give it a little wiggle. Pops out. Now before you pull the door panel too far off, make sure you disconnect the plug for the lights and the door switches. Now, they're old plastic, so they might be a little tough. Now pulling out the door speakers, super simple. It's just 4 screws and a clip. There we go. So now we'll plug in our harness adapter. And just to make sure that those plugs never come apart and that they don't rattle against anything, I like to wrap them up in some soft tape. This is kind of like hockey tape, but you could use like foam tape, or I suppose multiple layers of electrical tape if you wanted to. And you'll notice that the bolt pattern doesn't line up. And that's where the drill bit comes in. So I'll grab our 1/8 drill bit here. Just gonna basically center the speaker as best I can. And what works pretty nice here, it's a pretty nice soft plastic, so drill a nice pilot hole in there. See if we can get one of these screws started. And since the plastic's so nice and soft, these screws just thread right in. And just like that, the new speaker is installed nice and tight. So, as you might have guessed, installing the door panel is basically just the reverse process of how we took it off. But there is a couple things to take note of. For example, on my car, the tweeter sticks out so far that the door panel doesn't fit unless I cut the webbing off this little piece here. So, right in front of the speaker grill, had to cut that off. That's where these side cutters come into play. So yeah, after I cut that off, the door panel, they fit on just fine. So yeah, that's one little modification, and you can't even tell once you put the panels back on. So it's not like you're destroying the looks of your car. A couple other things to note when you're putting the panel back on. It is easier to take these little white plastic pieces and pull them out. Install them in the carpet piece first, and then click in the carpet piece instead of trying to do it the other way around, where you try to kind of put the carpet piece on and slide it in the opposite direction. You got to make sure that you install your plugs as you got the door close and almost ready to be put on. And one other thing is, you'll notice on the top of the door here, got these little tabs right there, and right there. Now those little tabs, as you install the door, need to slide into these pockets here, 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 and here. Another couple things, as you're sliding the panel on, you might have to move the door handle a little bit, but the door card does make it pretty easy. It's got these little, I don't know, they kind of look like little spikes here, and they slide in there and there. So they kind of guide you as you're putting the panel on. So now moving on to the rear speakers, first thing you want to do, take off the bottom portion of the rear seat. Got these little clips right here. Just pull on them, and you can feel it pop right up. You're gonna do that on both sides. Should come out, simple as that. Next, we'll remove these door sill panels. Super simple, it's just 4 screws. Next, we'll open up the rear hatch, take off the cargo cover, and then the plastic pieces that used to hold it in place. They got one screw on each side. You're gonna wanna remove those and take those off. Next, we're hopping in the hatch. Gonna take the seat, fold it down so we can get at that screw, that screw, that screw. That screw hidden behind the seat belt there. And when you put the seat back up, you want to remove that screw as well on both sides. Now this panel here should just pop right off. And then this one by the seat belt, it's a little trickier. I want to grab it, pull it to the side. Just pull one side out at a time. Careful not to break any of the clips. And that'll give you access to a hidden screw. You're going to want to remove that one as well. Next, we're going to remove this plastic cap that covers the seat belt brackets. Start by removing that screw right there. Next, you're going to grab a hook tool like this. Go ahead and put it into the crevasse there. And you should be able to turn it, kind of feel yourself hook underneath the bottom of the cap. Then just kind of center yourself and pull straight up. Just like that. There we go. Now you can use that same pick tool to remove the plastic covers at the top of the seat belts here. Just come off pretty easily. That'll give you access to that bolt there. And then to have access to this bolt, this little plastic piece on the seat belt just kind of slides out of the way. You'll have access to that 17mm down there. So we'll grab our 17mm socket, remove that bolt, and that bolt tucked back there. Now we're almost done, guys. I know this car's got a lot of hardware you got to remove, but after taking off the seatbelt cover, we've exposed these two little screws here. Got to take those out as well. I recommend a shorter screwdriver. We're using a little stubby for these, just because there's not a lot of clearance before hitting the roof here. So, yeah. And now we are finally ready to remove this rear panel and get access to that rear speaker. So you can just pull this out. Just got a couple clips holding it in, and you are good to go. To fish the seatbelt through this little hole here. And there you go. And it looks like these speakers are going to come out easy. Just 4 screws and a clip, just like the fronts. Now, one thing I noticed is that the rear 6x9s are set up a little bit differently than the front door speakers. If you guys remember when we installed those, behind the speaker, it was all open. You could see like the window and everything behind them. But in the rear, they actually have the 6x9 enclosed in a sealed box. And you see they got one vent right here. So when we install our new 6x9, we want to make sure we seal it up. Otherwise, you'll have like little air gaps between the metal on the back of the speaker here and the plastic here, and the air gap can cause kind of like a buzzing, and you won't get the, you know, the best sound you possibly can out of your speaker. So one solution, you can make like a foam gasket, but what I like to do is take this stuff here. It's called rope cock. It's basically like a 1/8 inch weather stripping, and it's nice and soft and sticky, and you can basically just take it and align the edge of the speaker housing with that, and then we'll be able to mount this up. And I already did the other side of the car. And on these kickers, it looks like 3 of the bolt holes line up pretty good. And then we'll just have to drill out one of these and put another self-tapper in, just like we did on the door speakers. All right, so at this point, we have all the speakers replaced. If you're looking to just do a stock speaker replacement on your Stealth or a little upgrade, there you have it. That's how you do it. When you put the rear panels back on, they go on just as easy as they came off. I think it's even easier. I got this side done already. It's just the reverse process of how we remove them. Now I'm going to put everything back together, set my camera on the charger, cool down a little bit, and then I'm going to do a little bit of brainstorming and figure out how I'm going to mount a sub in this thing. So I'm thinking I'll probably mount it behind the rear seats here, but I got to figure out how I'm going to run my RCA cables, my battery cables, remote wire, and everything. Once I get all that figured out, I'll go back and I'll film everything, show you guys how, what I came up with, how I laid it out. And man, I've done a couple sound tests so far, just with the you know, the speakers that we've replaced, the dash, door, and rear speakers, and it sounds amazing. So I'm very excited to have the full system installed and hear what it sounds like. But yeah, so far it's awesome. All right guys, so the install is finished. I've been driving around for a couple days, got the audio system nice and tuned, and man, I am loving how it sounds. I'll give you guys a quick walkthrough on how I installed the sub. So I did remove the battery just to give myself a little bit more space, but I used a 8 gauge, this is a Skar audio amp wiring kit. I'll have a link for that in the description as well. But you can see I just got it connected to the positive terminal there, kind of snakes around, and then I've got it going into the firewall. I don't know if you can see where that blue line kind of goes into the firewall there. I just put it through the same grommet that the engine harness uses, so that snakes in. And then to get at it, I had to remove this little plastic piece right here that covers like the blower motor. There's only 3 screws that hold this in, so it comes off really easily. Once you got that removed, you have access to the grommet if you look up on the firewall there. I used a little coat hanger trick to pull it through. I got a little clip of that right here. After I pulled the power wire through, I was able to snake it through here and just tuck it underneath the center console. This is nice and loose, so the wires aren't getting pinched or anything. So it ran through there, and then I didn't want the wires showing, so I had to use kind of the same coat hanger trick to pull the wire through there. So as you can see, you can't see the wires right now. It's going underneath the carpet and then underneath the back seats. So if I were to lift up the back seats, you can see the power wire here. This is my coax cable and the remote turn-on wire. I hooked the coax and the remote turn-on wire to the back of the head unit. I think I got a clip of that as well. You'll see this is the mono sub output. This is just a single RCA cable. And then this blue wire here is our 12-volt signal. This will turn the sub on, and I've got that tapped into the power antenna wire. And then this brown wire right here is our ground cable. You can see where I attached it to where the seat bracket bolts into the chassis. I ground off all the paint from the bracket, the hardware, and then the chassis itself to make sure we have a nice good ground. I went ahead and tested it with the meter to make sure we got nice low resistance. Don't want high resistance on your ground cable or too small of a ground cable, or you'll create a lot of heat. So yeah, and the seat still fits just fine. So it pops in nice and easily. Just like that. Coming around to the back side, you can see how we have the sub attached to the rear seat there. I've just got it attached to the carpet using some industrial Velcro, and it stays nice and solid, and we still have access to the seats, so we can still fold these down. Works just fine. I'm probably gonna put some wire loom over these wires here, but I just wanted to leave them open for demonstration purposes. I'm very impressed with the sound quality of the sub. It was shipped with this little controller here to adjust the volume of the sub, I guess. But this is very low quality controller. I was really not impressed with this at all. It's supposed to adjust the volume, but it's really more like an on-off switch. There's not a lot of adjustability there, so this is probably gonna go in the trash. I could adjust the volume and the gain and everything on the sub using the head unit, and it's a much better experience anyway. So yeah, I think I'll just continue using that, and I won't use the remote, but yeah, everything just kind of functions just like factory. It's a nice, clean, simple install. But man, it did take me some time. I think it's probably like a total of 10 hours just because I wanted to make sure I got everything done right, sealed up, and tucked all nice. But yeah, my goodness. All right guys, so that's gonna do it for today's video. It's gonna be a little bit later upload today. I've been putting mad hours in at my full-time job, so my schedule's getting pretty tight lately. And I know it was a longer video. These stealths, you know, they got a lot of hidden screws and everything like that when you're pulling them apart, so I wanted to make sure I had all those details in, so then if you got a stealth or a 3000 GT, you could replicate the project like I did and, you know, have a nice simple install. So hope it helped. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Next week, I have a sway bar coming for the Civic, so we'll be putting a rear sway bar. It is a Progress 22mm sway bar. We'll be installing it in the Civic and doing a little bit more drive and testing that out, so I'm really stoked for that. Yeah, as always, thank you for tuning in to Crafted Cars, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!